So, we've all heard the story of the plagues of Egypt, right? But what if the real story isn't just about the frogs and flies? What if there's a hidden engine driving the whole narrative? Well, in this explainer, we're going to decode Exodus chapter 8. We're looking at this powerful, repeating cycle of command, consequence, and defiance that, honestly, reveals the true nature of the entire conflict. Let's dive in.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the ultimatum that's thrown down in front of Pharaoh. Then, and this is the really cool part, we're going to uncover the hidden 5-step pattern that every single plague follows. We'll watch that pattern play out with a literal invasion of frogs, see how the stakes get higher and higher, and finally, we'll see how it all points to one single theme: Pharaoh's hardened heart.
You know, the story doesn't really ease you in. It just explodes right out of the gate with this massive confrontation. Forget about negotiation. This is a divine command from the very first line, and it sets up a conflict that is going to shake an entire empire to its core. I mean, it really doesn't get any clearer or more direct than this. Let my people go. That one sentence right there is the line in the sand. Every single thing Pharaoh does from this moment on is a direct response to this one simple demand. And boom, right away, the stakes are laid out. See, this isn't just a command. It's a full-blown ultimatum. Say no, and there will be frogs. It's a simple and frankly terrifying equation. Pharaoh has a crystal-clear choice, and he knows exactly what's waiting for him behind door number 2.
Okay, now here is where it gets super interesting. This chapter isn't just some random list of disasters. It's actually built on a predictable cycle, almost like a narrative loop that repeats over and over again, and it just cranks up the tension each time. Let's break down the 5 steps of that loop. This 5-step cycle is the key to understanding everything that happens. First, you get the warning. Then, the plague hits. Under all that pressure, Pharaoh starts bargaining, promising absolutely anything to make it stop. Moses grants a reprieve, and the plague goes away. But the second the pressure is off, Pharaoh defaults straight back to defiance. Warning, plague, bargaining, reprieve, defiance. Just watch for this pattern. It's everywhere in this chapter.
So let's put this theory to the test. Let's see this cycle in action. The Plague of Frogs is the perfect first case study because it follows our 5-step pattern right down to the letter. The text here is so specific, and for good reason. This wasn't just a few extra frogs hanging out by the river. No, this was a complete, total, overwhelming invasion. They were in people's beds, in their food, literally on their bodies. The description is meant to make you feel just how inescapable and disgusting this whole thing was.
And here's this fascinating little twist. Pharaoh's own court magicians can match the miracle. Well, sort of. They make more frogs, which, if you think about it, only makes the problem worse. It's a huge tell. They can add to the chaos, but they have absolutely zero power to stop it. And here we are, right on schedule at step 3, bargaining. He's totally overwhelmed, his own guys can't fix it, so Pharaoh calls for Moses and makes an explicit, clear-as-day promise. Get rid of these frogs and I will let the people go.
So Moses agrees, the frogs all die, and the whole land just stinks from these giant piles of them. Another one of those great sensory details. But the second the pressure's off, the moment he sees there's respite, what does Pharaoh do? He breaks his promise. Steps 4 and 5 are complete. The cycle is perfect.
Now, as we move on to the next plagues, the lice and the flies, the same basic pattern repeats. But it's not just a rerun. The story introduces 2 really crucial turning points that raise the stakes and completely change the nature of this conflict. All right, turning point number 1 comes with the plague of lice. Just look at the contrast here. On the left with the frogs, the magicians could kind of copy the trick, but on the right with the lice, they try and they fail. They just can't do it. For the very first time, their power hits a hard limit. And the escalation here is undeniable. The magicians themselves admit defeat. They go to Pharaoh and say, "This is the finger of God." Think about that. His own experts, his top advisors are telling him they're up against something way beyond their magic, and he still refuses to listen.
So the cycle keeps turning, and with the 4th plague, the swarms of flies, we get the second major turning point in the chapter. And this one is even more significant. For the first time, a clear distinction is made. A line is drawn in the sand. The plague of flies will absolutely torment the Egyptians, but the land of Goshen, where the Israelites are living, will be completely spared.
The message here is impossible to ignore. This is not some random natural disaster. This is a targeted, controlled demonstration of power. So watch how Pharaoh's strategy changes. He sees this targeted power, and his bargaining shifts. Instead of just giving in, he tries to negotiate a compromise. He says, "Fine, you can go sacrifice, but do it here, in Egypt." He is desperately trying to hang on to some shred of control.
But Moses just isn't having it. He rejects the compromise, explaining why it won't work. And with his little negotiation attempt completely shot down, Pharaoh caves again, falling right back into the familiar pattern. He agrees to the original demand, and once again, he asks Moses to pray for him.
And all of this brings us to the chapter's relentless conclusion. Because after every single plague, every promise, and every moment of relief, the story always lands in the exact same place. And there it is. The flies are gone, the relief has come, and just like clockwork, Pharaoh hardens his heart and breaks his word. The cycle completes itself once again, totally unbroken and unchanged.
I mean, this slide really says it all. You can just trace it right across the chapter. After the frogs, he hardened his heart. After the lice, his heart was hardened. After the flies, he hardened his heart again. The outcome never, ever changes. And that repetition, that is the entire point. So the key takeaway from this whole chapter isn't just about how spectacular the plagues were. It's really about the unyielding nature of Pharaoh's defiance. The narrative structure, this relentless loop, is specifically designed to show us a will that absolutely refuses to bend, no matter the evidence and no matter the suffering. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. Is this story just about one stubborn king from a long time ago? Or does this unbreakable cycle, this pattern of making promises when you're under pressure, only to break them the moment things get a little better, does that reveal something deeper, maybe something more universal, about the nature of power and what it really takes for someone to truly change?